guys, welcome to my channel. My name is ReadingBear and I hope you are ready for some more stories. And today, we'll take a look at some new entitled people content. If you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comment. And now, let's dive right into the stories.
The first story is titled, "Neighbors Trespassed on My Property and Threatened Me with Shotguns. Don't Mess with the Landowner." Summary. In this story, Appa's next-door neighbors to a mother who lets her kids run wild. As they get older, their shenanigans become more and more serious, and eventually led them to get in trouble with law enforcement. One thing about living in the South is that there are a lot of guns. Everywhere. I am serious. If you live in the South, the little grandma next door to you has gun. Now, this is not to make the South sound like a scary place. Most of the time, we are using our guns for hunting purposes. Self-defense every now and then. I will say that most people I know who own guns, have them locked up safely in their house. Except, of course it was my luck that I lived next to the one family in town that did not practice gun safety. And of course, the mother next door was a schoolteacher. With all due respect, what is it with parents in some sort of authority having misbehaved kids? Before we get to the part where my next-door neighbor's teenage sons dangerously handled some guns, we have a few small backstories. They have always been mischievous kids, running around the neighborhood terrorizing passerbys, being obnoxiously loud until wee hours of the morning while everyone was asleep. And I cannot blame them. Teenagers are mischievous naturally, and even I myself, made some questionable decisions. However, I sure as hell never started a small fire in my backyard at 1 in the morning. Or ran out the neighborhood, targeting my siblings with my BB gun. But to each to their own, I guess. The first time I figured out these kids were troublemakers was when they were playing video games at 1 in the morning, and they were so loud that even the neighbors across the street from them came out to see what was going on. They were so rowdy, my neighbors thought there was some sort of fight going on. Another instance of when these two brothers were acting a fool was when it was the middle night. As they got older and grew into their teenage years, these boys got more and more rowdy with more serious offenses. When they were just 14 and 16, the police officers were called on them for having a house party while their parents were away, and the police officers had found out that they were underage drinking. Now, I am not really sure what punishment they received for this, if they received any. But it did not seem to do them any good. And this is where we get to the shooting guns in the neighborhood part. See, it was beginning to get to a point where no one in the neighborhood liked this family. Luckily for me, I just ignored them and did not acknowledge them, and this was fine with them. However, the neighbors on the other side of their house had told me she was considering filing a complaint or police report, because there were people coming in and out of that house all hours of the night when the mom was away. Even when the mom was there, the brothers would have some shady-looking people over and they would spend time together on that side of the house between their house and her house. Well, on one summer evening, I was relaxing inside the house with my wife and dog. We were deeply focused on our movie, when all of a sudden, we heard several gunshots that sounded extremely close to our house. If we did not know any better, they could have been coming from our backyard. That is how damn close they sounded. I immediately thought about my wife and dog, and obviously I had no idea what was going on. So, I picked both of them up, sorry, honey, and ran to lock we in the room to call 911. Well, guess what? It was the kids from next door. After the police had come and let us know it was safe to come out, we heard that it was the kids next door. And my God, stepping out onto our front lawn, not only was it a great feeling to see the kids in handcuffs, but it was a great feeling seeing the mom in handcuffs as well. Apparently not only did police officers find several more firearms in the house, but they also found narcotics. It was not clear yet if the narcotics were the kids or the moms, or that were in on it together. Either way, all three of them were arrested, and are awaiting trial. The last I heard, the mom was let go of her teaching duties as well. The next story is titled, "Karen Blocks Homeowners to Get Into Their Homes." Hi, this is a story from one of my mother's friends. She lives in a private residential complex. This is something similar to an HOA in America, but not exactly. This is a number of houses, possibly built on the land of a single person, with a walled enclosure, and that can be accessed through a main gate. The people who buy houses there usually have to pay some money monthly to the residential complex administration. I live in one of these, but we don't pay anything because there is not such organization in the complex where I live, because everybody hates each other and can't organize. These residential complexes are quite common in my country. My mom has a friend who lives in a private residential complex in my city. She told us once the story about a Karen who was the president of the complex administration. This Karen would constantly harass the homeowners for the monthly payments, and everybody hated her for that. The thing is that, this Karen would give specific instructions to the security guards on the main gate, to do not let in any owner who have a delay in payment. Yes, she expects the owners to pay on time, or wouldn't let them get in their homes. Also, wouldn't let anyone in after 10 p.m., no matter if they are up to the payment or not. My mom's friend has a daughter in school. One day, the daughter came back from school, but when she got to the main gate, there was Karen, and she would not let the child in, because the mom had a one-day delay on the payment. The child ended up going to her grandma's house, until the mom could pick her up and take her home. One day, everybody was tired of Karen, so they gathered, and took the entire gate down, leaving it free for anyone to come in. Also, they were preparing to sue Karen. I don't know what happened next, but I think my mom's friend moved out somewhere else, even since. The next story is entitled Woman Harasses and Stalks Me for 3 Blocks Because I Paid with $10 Bill at Her Yard Sale. This is my first post on Reddit. I normally don't let this stuff get to me, but this was too much for my taste and comfort. It was just a bit excessive. It made me uncomfortable beyond belief. After listening to Be Busta on YouTube and hearing the entitled People Stories, I had to post. Today, I went yard sailing with my parents. This is the time of the year when all the old folks are cleaning out their homes and putting all their stuff out. I love a good bargain when I see it, and I need books cheaply for my classroom. My school has no library, so we are relied on to give our students appropriate reads, but this is a story for another time. Anyway, I always tag along to help my parents but also look for my own things. We pull up to the first house. I have $30, so not too much. My parents have a couple 10s and 20s, along with my dad's typical pocket of various change. He's in his 60s and keeps every coin he finds. I notice a cute wallet and remember in the back of my head that my Sailor Moon one that I love is falling apart. I pick it up and go to ask one of the women there. Of the 2 women there, the woman who apparently owns the wallet asks 75 cents, so I say, okay, and go to give her the money. I pull out my cash and go to give her money. The woman starts shaking her head and saying that she can't take my $10 and says I need to buy something else if I want change. I explain to the woman that this is the smallest bill I have. I show her that I only have a 20 and a 10. I told her I can't make the purchase otherwise. She gets mad and stamps into the house because she has to make change. I felt a little bad, so I looked for my parents to see if I could let me borrow $1 so this lady wouldn't be so upset. But I turned to see my parents have already moved on. I wait for a moment. The other woman sitting out there, I guess feeling sorry for me in turn, goes on to tell me that I shouldn't pay much mind to the other woman, as she is a good-for-nothing cheapskate. I chuckle as she explains more, saying how she finagled her way onto the older woman's property this morning instead of paying the $5 for the fee to the homeowners association to have her own sale, even though half of the stuff of the lawn is hers. The woman then returns with her wallet. There are enough singles to house and feed a stripper for a week. She then thrusts $9 at me, saying, "That's all you get." I know she said it was 75 cents, but just a little annoyed at how rude she is, I just put my money away. She is glaring at me, watching my wallet, as if looking for smaller bills. I leave and find my parents walking back towards me. A normal person would think that it's over, but boy, was I wrong. We got to a few more yard sales, when I hear a familiar voice loudly saying, "Don't sell to her. She is going to take all your change." The woman who had sold me the wallet is there pointing at me to one of the homeowners. The man she is speaking to is about 60 to 70 years old. He looks very confused and says something along the lines of, "Good for you." He walks off and I turn away from this crazy bat. You would think that would be it, but of course not. I go to grab something off the table, but she grabs it before me. I shrug it off and try to grab for something else. She does it again. Finally, I grab for one other thing I definitely didn't want. She does it once more. I roll my eyes. I don't say anything. I can normally be a confrontational person, but I can see she is getting more upset that I won't say a thing to her crazy self. She eventually leaves when she sees us go to another yard sale. leaving everything that she had grabbed there. Finally, after her following us to 3 more and pulling the same nonsense, I grab a box of books and go to pay. She doesn't attempt to do anything, as I think she realized how heavy the books are. I get my wallet out to pay when she starts her, "Don't sell to her" nonsense. She apparently did it to the wrong neighbor, as another older woman looks at her with her hands on her hips and says, "Lady, you need to leave my property. I have watched you harass this girl for 3 houses, and for what reason? Because she gave you a big bill? Grow up. It's a community garage sale. You're lucky she even made that purchase." At this the woman goes quiet. I chuckle slightly. The older woman continues, "Now get yourself off my property before I call the cops. You are out of line and causing a whole bunch of ruckuses. And if you both that girl once more, I am going to call the cops for her. She ain't done a thing to you. She's probably half your age and you're acting like half of hers. Go on, get." The woman seems reluctant to leave but gets in the car after the older woman handed her tail to her. The older woman lets me make my purchase. Later on, my mother asks me in the car about what that was about. I recount the story and I see my mother is getting upset. She is more confrontational than I am. She is a full red-blooded Italian and she can take a few verbal punches. I told her to not get upset, as it was already handled and I didn't say much if anything. It was probably a good thing I didn't involve my mother. Because honestly, my mother probably would have been a lot more colorful in telling her what she could do with herself. The next story is titled, "Wah Boat Issues." After moving into our new home in a subdivision with a homeowner association, I received a call from my wife while at work. She informed me that we had just been visited by a contingent of officers of our HOA. She further told me that they were going to make us move our fence. Backstory. When initially looking at the model home, I asked for and received a copy of the HOA covenants and read them cover to cover. I was particularly interested in whether or not homeowners were permitted to have boats on their property. I found that boats were permitted as long as they could not be seen from the street. I agreed to purchase the home if the builder would pour a concrete boat pad beside the garage, thinking that I could put up gates in front of the pad blocking the view from the street. The builder agreed and we purchased the home. When I arrived home, I asked my wife what happened and was informed of the following. 3 HOA officers visited and were informed that I was at work. They congratulated her on a beautiful home but mentioned that we would have to move the gates as they were forward of the middle of the house and fences are not permitted in the front yard, per the HOA covenants. They then said, "Your husband is the fishing guide, isn't he?" When she replied yes, he said that they all like to fish and he was sure something could be worked out. They left. I called the number that was provided and one of these gentlemen answered. I said that my wife had told me that they visited and what they had said. I told them that I would be happy to take them fishing. All we had to do was to come up with an agreeable date and of course, my fee was $400 per day. He replied, "I don't think you understand." I said that I understand perfectly. I then said that you may be able to force me to move my gates but let me tell you what will happen if you do. I will head out to the farming area and find the rustiest, beat-up piece of crap automobile I can find, park it in my driveway and put a 9-foot satellite antenna on the roof of the car and there is absolutely nothing you can do about it. Read your covenants. I then hung up. Never heard another word from them. The last story is entitled Neighbor Loses Everything. This happened during the late 1980s and into 1990. My best male friend, we were not romantic partners, got a deal where we took care of 40 acres of forested land up in the Sierra Nevada mountains in California. The landowner had previously grown an illegal crop there, and the authorities destroyed it. This is important. Our closest neighbor lived a quarter-mile away. We quickly learned he didn't want any neighbors within several miles. We figured if we stayed away from him and his family, things would be okay. We were wrong. Within weeks, we found out there were rumors circulating all over the area, including the town 13 miles away where we went shopping. Population 256 at the time, that we were devil-worshipping federal agents. I still wonder how people could believe both to be factual. We got many threats by people we never met over the rumors. Things got bad enough that I carried a firearm 24/7. Still, we continued to live there, maintained and cleaned up the property, clearing out dead trees and shrubs, etc. We even put up a steel pipe gate next to the dirt road the neighbor used, where we turned going to our place, to keep unwanted people out after the 40-foot trailer was pulled 16 feet into a large Douglas fir. One winter, we had a heavy snowfall, dumping 4 feet overnight. The following morning, opening the trailer door was a challenge. Then, I put on my snowshoes, walked up to the dirt road, and saw where cross-country ski tracks came from the neighbors, and somebody had lied down, and went back. I decided to go check, because this was definitely not normal. I got to the neighbor's trailer, and called out, scared of getting shot if I knocked. The guy came out and asked me why I was there. I told him what I saw, and, is everything okay? Do you need any help? He told me his family ran out of groceries, and his mother dropped off some down at the main road. He tried to go get them but couldn't make it. I told him I would get them for him, just to give me an hour or so. I went back, grabbed my sled, and trod my way with my snowshoes still onto the main road, put the sack of groceries on the sled, and then trod to his place and knocked on his door this time. He actually invited me in. We talked, made friends. His wife looked very angry. My male friend did not know what to think when I told him. I think even he knew the trouble was not over. Come springtime, the neighbor man's mother sold that land and had the trailer hauled off. The couple divorced, and she got the kids. He was run out of the community for saying I was actually a decent human being. I left a year later after things escalated. Thank you for listening.